My name is Srivathsa. I'm currently working in Bangalore in AECOM, which is one of the global engineering consultancy firm. So I work as operations director for one of the business lines, which is EWB, environment, water, and energy combined one business line. So I'm the operations director for that business line. So I'm based in Bangalore. That's a brief intro.
Yeah, thank you so much. So what made you enroll yourself to the MHFE training course?
Of course, as part of, in terms of our company, AECOM, well-being is one of the, high priority areas for us, any kind of well-being. So there is a lot of focus on how do we, create more awareness, how do we focus on well-being. So one of the initiative is when it comes to mental health side of it, there are mental health allies everywhere globally. So in India as well, there is a well-being ambassador. But when it comes to mental health, we didn't have the mental health allies. We had it from the global teams, but again, we in terms of trained MHFA, first aiders. So this was probably the first time. So when this initiative was discussed, I was interested because, again, when you almost your entire working days you are dealing with people because we are into engineering consultancy. It's all about people.
Right.
So if our people are performing, if they are at their best, then we are doing good. So it's more of it's everything about people. So it's very crucial when you are managing people. You cannot apply the same formula for every individual. So every individual might be different. They might be going through different phases. So I was keen to know more in a when it is about MHFA. I also did a brief kind of when this proposal came. I did a brief research on what MHFA actually does, and so it is all research based and fact based kind of curriculum and the manual that you maintain. So it's more of a structured, you might read here and there, get to know about the subject, but it always helps when you go to a structured training program or go to a course. So that's why, so it was initiated by our HR business partners. But when the time came about, nominating our people who are interested to be part of it, of course, I showed my interest, and that's why I got into this training.
Oh, that's really lovely to know. I mean, there's been a thorough thought process from your end before you took this up, and it's heartening to know, the rationale for which you took it up. And you're absolutely right, especially when you're dealing with people. Each person is different, and the way they respond to each matters a lot. As far as their productivity and their activities are concerned. So that's really heartening to know. So how was the MHFA training overall? What were your experiences while undergoing the training? What were the key takeaways?
I felt that it was very well structured because, initially the online modules, we were asked to complete the modules before the live session we had, which was, of course, more of a hybrid virtual sessions, but still interactive ones. So, when you look at the manual, when you start doing this online modules, you kind of set yourself that foundation is set and you know kind of what to expect. And then that makes those live sessions much more effective and more interactive as well. Because you go through manual, you go through these modules online, then you have kind of an understanding, but you also have some question marks on uh, how do we really apply this and these kind of things. And during the trainings as well, the MHFA trainer was uh, you know they were actually making sure that the role plays are done, and it was kind of live experience you get with those role plays. You create those situations and try to come up with the realistic solutions, so that makes it really impactful.
Right. What were the other takeaways? What were your key learnings from the training? One is, as you rightly said, the overall experience was realistic for you because there were role plays involved. What were the other learnings from the MHFA training?
I think the more and more awareness and different, you know, types of um, mental health conditions that might be arising, and if it is a crisis situation, then how do you address it? I mean, how do you approach a situation? You become more confident, basically. You might be having your own ways, but you are not 100% sure. But when you go through something like this, then you are more aware, you are more confident to approach a person with who is facing these challenges. And it becomes that much easier to have those conversations, or approach in a uh, structured way. I would say you feel confident talking to that kind of a person. And when you talk more and more on these topics, the awareness improves. And if somebody is facing those difficulties, they also will feel confident that okay, there's supporting ecosystem, they can open up, and things like this. I mean, you already have your EAPs, um, all the virtual tools, online tools might be available, but again, unless you talk to people and create that awareness, they may not really go to this your intranet portals, and voluntarily they may not be feeling confident to approach. So once you talk more on these topics among your team members, so that awareness, actually the training really you know increase the awareness, and it also emphasized on why you should talk more openly, so that there is no stigma, and should not be judging. So communicating non-judgmentally is one of the core areas. I think the MHFA really emphasized on it. So yeah, those are the things. See, those are uh, some of the things you might be knowing, you might have heard, but that emphasis actually makes a difference.
Right.
You become more and more aware, and you start practicing it. So that makes a difference.
Yeah, you're very right. Awareness is there in most of us. We would be obviously practicing it also, but when we undergo maybe a training like this, it comes to a much more superficial conscious level, and that pushes us to adopt it on a day to day basis. So it's more like a reminder and a refresher that hey, this is there in you now. Start using it, and that's
Yes.
awesome. It's really awesome. Some of the points that you have mentioned, the way you have started using it, it's really amazing to hear that. So would do you think this MHFA course, a training like this, is recommended to the corporates, or is recommended to any lay person? What's your take on this?
I think this particular course, which was I think more structured for workplace kind of a thing, I would 100% recommend it, and not only for somebody who wants to be a mental health LA or well-being ambassador, but I would recommend it for all those senior guys who are actually managing people, who are in the leadership positions, who are in the managerial positions, who have to deal with who are actually managing team members, diverse teams. So it would definitely benefit.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. So
It's
leadership.
highly recommended.
Okay. Okay. So that's the thing. So leadership taking, I mean, it starts from top. It naturally would percolate to the bottom, and that mental health culture in the workspace can be created. Is the message that I am taking from you. So yeah, that's lovely to hear. Any closing remarks from you, Srivatsa?
Uh, See, if I have to, summarize, definitely the training itself, as I mentioned, is done in a very structured way, and I'm sure, this is not a result of 1 or 2 days. There's a lot of research behind it. There's a lot of thought process and learning. I think from each of the training that MHFA has been doing. So I could see that because it is not something random. It is well thought about, and it creates an immediate impact. So that was very much evident. And as I mentioned, for it's not only for those who wants to be a first aider uh, but it's I would recommend it for anybody who is, you know, in a leadership positions or managerial roles, because it definitely helps, and it creates that supportive kind of environment in your workplace. If you are more aware of, if you have gone through the training, again, as you rightly pointed out, you might be practicing some of this already in your day-to-day activities, but that training and emphasizing on those points makes you more conscious, and you kind of, um, try to do it. It kind of, again emphasizes on that and makes you think on those lines, and consciously practice it.
Right.
So, and apart from all of this, if I have to just, purely as someone who attended the training, if I have to talk about the course content and how it was beneficial, and if I have to provide a feedback, then I would say that one thing that probably would help, apart from what is already covered, I think your curriculum probably is around the standard that is there, and also, what is kind of available as a research and evidence based content. But in today's scenario, especially for us who are, working in the corporate, uh, digital well-being is one of the core areas. The screen time, the fatigue that comes out of it, the burnouts. So this is something which I didn't see much in the
Right.
training content.
Yeah.
uh, it could be because of various reason, I don't know, maybe there's not enough research available at the moment, or maybe things are going on and it will be probably adapted in the future courses. But if I have to give a honest feedback, I would say that it may not be applicable for everyone, but for somebody from the corporate attending this, so digital well-being becomes one of the critical aspect.
Right.
So some coverage on this subject, I think, would be even more beneficial, I would say.
Thank you so much. That's a really valid point. And yes, you are right that it might come up in the future edition of the training, and discussions are already on to include everything to do with tech and the digital tools space and well-being. So, but yes, it's a valid point, and when it comes from someone who has gone through the course or the training, I mean, that would be much more appreciated. So thank you so much for the feedback. Anything else that you would want to share?
I would definitely, like to thank MHFA, whole of MHFA team, and you know for this kind of initiative or the trainings that are going on. It's really making a difference, creating that awareness. It's all about the first thing that stops people from being openly, talking about it, is fear of judgment. People
Mhm.
fear that they will be judged, and we still have that. So more and more of the trainings and more of awareness programs are only going to help. uh, so I think it's really appreciable what MHFA is doing, the contents, the trainings, the awareness that is being created through MHFA. So, and I would like to thank MHFA, as well as, uh, our team as well, which approached MHFA, our HR business partners, our well-being ambassadors. So they have done some good research and have chosen the right way, I would say, to create, better awareness.